Welcome everyone to this third webinar of the webinar series that was launched by Amrita, Bangalore Chamber of Commerce, and the Medium and Small Scale Enterprises Directorate of Bangalore and Kerala. So we have had two successful webinars, and this is the third one. These are all inputs meant to provide the MSMEs with micro learnings. So let me, before I introduce the speakers, I would like to just give you the format of the presentation and the format of this program for the next 1.5 hours. So first I'll introduce the speakers, and I would request Dr. Krishna Sri Achyutan, who is the Dean of our university, to give a welcome address and also to talk about the Technology Enabling Center, which actually brings this offering to all of you. This will actually then be followed by a presentation by Harish Lalchandani, and Harish will thereafter have a discussion with Dr. Shekhar Babu on the various aspects of rural marketing. Thereafter, we will open it up for questions and answers, and thereafter we'll have a quick wrap. So that's the format of the presentation and the program for the next 1.5 hours. Now let me just introduce the speakers. So first is Harish Lalchandani, who has been a good friend, confidant, and industry colleague for years. He actually is an engineer from an alumnus from University of Mumbai. He did his Master of Science of Management Sciences from Jamnalal Bajaj, and thereafter he started off with a stint in Britannia Industries. After Britannia Industries, he moved into Nokia, and interestingly, he at one point of time headed the entire rural offerings of China. So he used to look after rural China in Nokia. So that's a very interesting combination that we have today, where he's talking about India and he used to look after China rural at some point of time. Thereafter, he moved as the CFO of GE Healthcare for a very, very creditable and very interesting stint. And after that, he moved on to the role of a CEO, and he became the CEO of GE Lighting. Thereafter, today he actually heads the strategy role in the farm equipment services of Mahindra and Mahindra. So he's had a very checkered career, a very rich and he's very rich in experience and learning, and therefore you will find his talk very interesting. He is a very lively person, so you'll find a lot of videos, a lot of animated conversations, and things that you can actually find very exciting. I have another person with me who is an extremely erudite, scholarly person. He is Dr. Shekhar Babu. He comes from a university. He is the chair of our Indo-US initiatives, and is also the co-founder and the founding member of the Bangalore Management Studies group in the university. So he is a BE he's an engineer from the Bangalore University, but he then moved on to US to do his post-graduation, became a MS, and did his PhD from University of California, Los Angeles, which is also known as UCLA. He has been about 12 years in academia, a host of papers, a host of interesting research areas that he has done. And he also has about 16 years of experience in the industry, largely in US and in HP and in PwC US. Shekhar Babu's forte has been in CSR, in SDG goals, and he has also dabbled a lot in marketing. So you'll find the interesting discussion between Shekhar and Harish as they pick up the finer points of today's presentation. Okay. With that, I hand it over to Dr. Krishna Sri Achyutan. Dr. Krishna Sri Achyutan has an equally stellar career. She was in US, in the Silicon Valley, working in the area of fab and semiconductors. She holds a PhD in that area, and she has got at least 32 patents to her credit. So she is the dean of a university, and she heads the postgraduate programs. So over to you, Dr. Krishna Sri, to introduce Technology Enabling Center, this offering, and a small talk on your part. Over to you, Dr. Krishna Sri.
Thank you very much, Joydeep. I'd like to warmly welcome our special guest, Mr. Harish Lalchandani, Vice President, Strategy, Farm Equipment Sector from Mahindra & Mahindra Limited. I'd also like to welcome all of the participants that are joining us from various different backgrounds, some from academia, some from industry, several students, etc., to this wonderful knowledge exchange series that is hosted by the Technology Enabling Center at Amrita. Yeah. A brief introduction. Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham is a very young, fast-growing university. It's about 18 years of age, and in this short span of time, we have built about 6 campuses that are functional across 4 different states in India, and we have over 20,000 students, over 200 plus programs, and more importantly, today we are ranked as the 4th best university in India by Government of India's National Ranking Framework. Additionally, we are also ranked as the #1 private university by various international ranking agencies, including the Times Higher Education and QS, etc. The Technology Enabling Center is actually a very, very important and nodal center inside of Amrita. And this is actually, in fact, called as the Department of Science and Technology and Amrita Center. It is the objectives of it is to really create an ecosystem for technology development, and so that it forms a platform to network researchers, industry personnel, the venture capital and angel communities, national laboratories, and others, and also plug in students and faculty of various different institutes across different states in India to be able to help with providing an enabling ecosystem, process, and support system for technology development. With regard to today's topic, India is actually predominantly a rural country with 2/3 of its population and 70% of its workforce residing in rural areas. So rural economy constitutes close to 46% of national income too. So despite the rise of urbanization, and we still think that a significant percent of India's population will continue to be in rural areas. And so the growth and development of rural economy and population are key to our overall growth, especially inclusive development in the country. So with that, I would like to again warmly welcome our chief guest today, Mr. Harish Lalchandani, my colleagues, Dr. Shekhar Babu, Joydeep Nag, and others to this wonderful webinar. I'm very much looking forward to it myself. Back to you, Joydeep.
Thank you, Krishna Sri. So now I hand over to Harish to do the presentation.
Thank you, Joydeep. Thank you, Krishna Sri. I think it's an immense pleasure and an honor for me today to be here at this esteemed institution. And especially, I think even more overawed because the position that they have made me sit, I can see Ma sitting right in front of me and watching me. So it's an added pressure just so that, just so that to ensure that I perform well, but I'm sure the blessings are with me and I will be able to conduct this to everyone's satisfaction. What is rural marketing and why are we here with this topic today? A lot of my experiences that I've had in the past as an individual and as a professional have been with targeting rural consumers with urban products or even consumers with urban products. And while I did that in my career, what I realized is that, there is a certain amount of research that you do, a certain amount of understanding that you do of the consumer, and then you build everything that you want to communicate to them, your brand, your personality, your product, according to that consumer group. And rural was just as an afterthought. So, for example, with my career, when we did Britannia and we launched biscuits, I think most of the biscuits were targeted at the urban consumers and rural was an afterthought. It also was. The same thing with Nokia, the same thing possibly with GE and all of the companies I work for. I think this is the first experience that I've had when now that I'm working with Mahindra in the tractor division in Mumbai. Everything that we do as an organization, everything that we make, everything that we produce, everything that we sell is targeted at the rural consumer. And this has been my first experience in the last couple of years of spending time in rural. And that's when you realize how different that world is. It's a huge world. It's a huge opportunity. But the world is very different in various ways. Chanvi, if you can just start flashing the presentation and then I can just use the presentation as a reference point. Yeah, as Gandhiji once said, the soul of India lives in its villages. And I think he couldn't be more right. It's as I said, my experience of being there, my experience of interacting with the people, engaging with the people, understanding them, working out strategies for us as an organization as to how do we change, how do we produce, how do we sell to them. This is absolutely true. The soul of India does live in its villages. And what we're doing is more a metamorphized, Anglic way of living right now in India. Whereas that's the true India. Next slide, just keep going on. This is what I plan to cover today. Just give you a context. I've kept it very basic. And at any point of time, if you have questions or towards the end, please keep them handy because the context of the presentation is very basic. I've tried to keep it very simple, given the varied nature of people who are on the call and on this video. So what is rural marketing? The key attributes of the rural customers. What are the important lessons that we have learned for successful marketing? And these are not lessons that have been learned by MSMEs or small companies. These are lessons that have been learned by large companies and hence through experience and through various campaigns that they have done. And these possibly could be useful so that we don't make the same mistakes again. Just covering very briefly some of the traditional mediums. Digital. Now that's very interesting because this is coming across as one of the easiest, cheapest, and best way of targeting the rural consumer. And we'll just cover briefly the role of the digital influencers and then summary and questions. Next slide, Janvi. As Joydeep had mentioned earlier, I think the construct of the presentation is a lot of visuals and videos, just to give you a reference point of what we are talking about. And then we can use a reference point to talk and discuss. Rural marketing is very simple. It's the act of, identifying and satisfying the needs and providing for the wants of the rural consumer. There are two aspects to rural marketing. One is what does rural produce and how can we sell it in markets outside of rural? And what do we produce and how can we sell those products into rural? I think after my discussion with Joydeep today, we are covering the second part of the presentation as to what we produce and how we can sell that to the rural areas. Ma'am has already covered why rural is important. So I don't think I'll spend too much of time on this, except for the fact that there is a significant amount of investment and the significant amount of growth that's happening in rural over the last couple of years. And with this growth and with this investment, coupled with an addition, just 1 minute. Someone is saying that there's an echo at my end. Is there any solution? I think you may have to put your on mute. Yeah, you'll have to put your speaker also on mute, the audio, so you don't hear me from the. Yeah, just in case it's corrected, please let me know. If not, then we'll try and figure it out. See, what has happened in rural in the last couple of years is that with the advent of the over-the-air beaming of the television, as well as in a lot of areas where we have the internet now coming in, the exposure of the rural population to things that are happening in urban India and around the world, and Janvi, your presentation has disappeared, in urban India and around the world has significantly improved. So today, the access to information and the access to knowledge, if you were to look at rural India, is as much as his or her urban counterpart. And this sudden influx of information is creating a lot of equality between what they know and what they have access to versus what we know and what we have access to. I'll just take a pause. Janvi, are you on the call? Because we have lost the video or lost the PPT.
Am I back? Is it visible now? Sorry, the net is just havoc. Just 1 second, I'll reshare.
That's all right. It gives us an experience of how the rural consumer experiences the internet.
I think it's technology tends to absolutely fail on the days we need it.
That's absolutely that's fine. As I was saying, so that's the critical aspect of what you need to understand. Earlier you could go to a rural consumer, and what you told the rural consumer is what the consumer knew. But today the rural consumer already knows a lot before the customer comes and starts a discussion with you. They've already scanned the internet, they've already viewed the internet, they've already looked for information, and then they're coming to you from a position of having knowledge more than what they used to have in the past. The second thing, I think the important thing, and I know I'm covering a lot of the presentation in the summary slide, in the covering slide itself, is the access to rural finance. Maybe 10, 20 years back, the financial institutions, even today, I'm not saying that it's improved, but the financial institutions were wary going to rural. And the reason for their wariness was not so much the inability to provide the finance, but the wariness was because of the inability to collect. In case there is a default, how do I go across and collect? But I think with the advent of technology and with the improvement in technology, the ability for the financial company also to provide finance and to collect has become much better. And that also will give a boost to where the rural consumer is. Now, if I specifically look at the rural consumer, and that's why Janvi is on the slide, there are a few things that we should understand about rural and the rural consumer. I'm sure all of you know because you are serving the rural consumer, but these are for those who are, these are some differences that we have observed, which maybe for those who are not that aware. One is, for all the people working in urban, especially the salaried employees, we get a salary at the end of every month. Even for business employees who are in a fairly mature business, there is a certain amount of inflow and outflow which is very regular. Whereas for the rural consumer, especially because the agri element of rural is significant, there is a lot of difference. There's a lot of cyclicality in the way that they earn. So if you're a farmer, your income happens 2 or 3 times a year. And therefore, management of cash during the interim period becomes very important. And for us as business people, targeting the customer at the time when they have money and when the cash comes into their pocket becomes very important. It's not that you can go at any point of time and tell them that I have this product, would you buy? It's important to go at the time when you know that they have money. The second thing is that when they have money, there's a tendency to spend. There is very little tendency to save. The second aspect of the rural consumer that we have observed is it's a very large mass, but don't mistake them for being homogeneous. We have observed with our experiences, especially with tractors, that one village is very different from the neighboring village. Not even a village. In Hindi, they have this term called kasba. A village is an aggregation of a large number of kasbas. Each kasba sometimes is different from the neighboring kasba in terms of their habits, in terms of the behavior. Videos? Yeah, I can see myself. In terms of their buying behaviors, in terms of the cultures, in terms of the practices, For example, one kasbah in a group of village, if there are four houses in the kasbah, may buy one sort of product, and the neighboring kasbah is convinced that that product doesn't work for them and they'll buy another product. But within a kasbah, there is usually a similarity of what they buy. And therefore, targeting each individual group of people, it becomes a little more difficult because you're not able to connect with a large number of people at one point of time. Third is a high involvement in purchase, especially if the purchase is to do with their profession, or especially if the purchase is of a higher value. It's not only the individual, it's not only the family, sometimes the whole community gets involved. So if they're purchasing a tractor, it's almost like a celebration. And when we talk to people about why is there such a celebration, the answer sometimes given to us is that this is like Ghar Ki Lakshmi coming home. How can it be just one person going and selecting the Ghar Ki Lakshmi? So usually you have almost 30, 40, 50 people sometimes landing up to buy the product. Rooted in customs, I think this is changing. While there is more of there is a greater rooting in customs as compared to urban, the new generation of people who are coming up are somewhere in the middle. While they're still rooted in some of the customs, I think there is an aspiration to change, aspiration to grow. And this exposure, as I told you, to the internet and media and to things outside of what they earlier knew is actually changing their perception of the world, and some part of the custom is changing. Janvi, next slide. So what are the important lessons? Now we'll take a break because now we are moving to the next stage of the presentation. In the next stage, what I'm going to try and do is, what learnings have large companies got by targeting rural consumers over a period of time? And as a result of those learnings, what have been the changes that they have done to their communication, their marketing? And I've just tried to summarize some of the key learnings over the next few slides. So I think the first learning in terms of the successful rural marketing is use of the local context. As I told you earlier, each rural village and each rural kasbah behaves differently. And each one thinks that I am different from my neighboring village. If that's the kind of hyper-local individuality that they have, imagine having an international ad aired to them or an international communication aired to them. It just doesn't cut ice. And therefore, it is important, at least from a state-wise perspective, even if you are not able to do it from a regional perspective within a state, but at least within a statewide perspective, it is important for you to use local context and establish a local connect. And what we have observed is that companies who have done this have got greater benefit. And it's easier for us as small companies to do it because you're in that area, you know the local context, you know the local. So this may not come across as a big aha to you, but usually for large companies with some person sitting in Gurgaon and trying to market to somebody in Kerala, it's a very different experience. Companies used to do it in the past. What they would do is they'll create one ad and they'll have different voiceovers. They'll have a Malayalam voiceover for Kerala. They'll have a Tamil voiceover for Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kannada voiceover. But I think now they're going even more localized, where even the kind of characters they use, the kind of environment they use, the kind of context they use is very localized. Janvi, the next slide. So here are some examples that you can see of how large brands have started using local celebrities or local contexts in order to establish a connect. And I think in the recent times, what has happened is with the advent of these regional sports events, which have become very popular, whether it is kabaddi, whether it is football, whether it is cricket, it's also allowed marketers to jump onto that localized bandwagon, where every state is now proud of their team or their group of players. And you have large number of localities you can target, because though the celebrity doesn't belong to that particular state, because he or she belongs to the team from that state, you have a connect. And so, brands and companies now have a larger pool of people you can tap into in order to connect with your customer. So these are just some examples of communications that Tata Motors and Levers and all uses. Next slide. This is a communication, I think, that's been taken from the internet. And one of the key features of this communication is that while it's a large brand, the fact that it utilized local aspects and it showed local people with local language, you should see the number of views that it has garnered in YouTube. Significant number of views as compared to, let's say, a national ad. Janvi, you can play the ad and keeping fingers crossed that all works fine and people are able to hear it.
அம்மா கைப்பதம் அருமையென்றோ அதில் அன்பும் கலந்திட நிகருமுண்டோ அடுப்பாங்கரையின் சாஸ்திரமோ அங்கே அஞ்சரை பெட்டியின் ரகசியமோ அம்மா மறைத்திடும் தந்திரமோ இல்லையா மூலின் நதி சுவை மந்திரமோ ஒவ்வொரு நாளும் அமுல் ஆயிரக்கணக்கான அம்மாக்களின் சமையலை கொண்டாடுகிறது. அமுல் தான் அம்மாவின் மந்திரமோ.
Now, this ad, after it was released somewhere in October of 2020, and within a short period of time, and it was released to a large extent even on YouTube. Even if you look at just YouTube, I think on YouTube itself, this ad had garnered close to 27 lakh views in a short period of time. And the point is, when I tell you about this ad and say that it has garnered 27 lakh views in YouTube over a short period of time after it was aired because of its local content and context, the first question that you'll ask me is, but we are an MSME, how can we make an ad? You know, it's extremely expensive to make an ad, and it's extremely expensive for us to air the ad. I think what we're going to do next is to try and show you. I'm going to cover two aspects at a time. I'm going to tell you about the importance of using catchy phrases and jingles. One of the things that large companies have realized over time, that if you have a jingle at the end that talks of your organization, that's unique to your organization or your company, and it's not very difficult to come up with a jingle. I mean, people make it for a few thousand rupees nowadays. There are so many startups that have come up. There are so many digital marketing firms that have come up. They can do this locally for you at a very low cost. But if you use a catchy phrase, and I just go back to the Britannia ting ting ting. I mean, it became so popular that you didn't even have to say that you were Britannia. The moment you heard ting ting ting, you knew it's Britannia. My next company, Nokia. I mean, you hear the tone and you know what company, what brand, what product. And that's the kind of association that sounds and phrases have with customers. The reason I'm saying I'm combining the advertisement piece with the use of catchy phrases and jingles is because very recently, I think just a week and a half ago, a local marketing team in one of our states at a state level created an ad at a very low cost. I'm unfortunately not able to give you the actual figures at how much it costs to make the ad, but trust me when I tell you, it is cheap. It's extremely low even by any standards. I'm not talking by large company standards. And the way this ad has gone viral, it's significantly, interesting, and it's good to know. And therefore, I'm going to air this. I'm going to just show you this ad. Chan, if you can just run this ad, then we can just talk a little bit more about it. It's in Hindi, so my apologies, but
शुरू कर। और कितनी देर भैया?
आप 5 मिनट।
5 मिनट? अगले 5 मिनट में कोई आया नहीं तो लाइसेंस नहीं मिलेगा, बाद में बनवा लेना। अरे अरे अरे, साइकिल चला रहा था क्या? ट्रैक्टर चलाना मजाक नहीं होता है, जिम्मेदारी का काम होता है ट्रैक्टर चलाना, समझे?
हाँ सर, लेकिन मेरे
चलो चलो नेक्स्ट।
साहब, शक्ति।
तुम शक्ति?
हाँ शक्ति।
ट्रैक्टर का ड्राइविंग टेस्ट देना है?
जी।
देखो यहाँ पे मुझे बहुत साल हो गए, लेकिन आज तक किसी लड़की को मैंने ट्रैक्टर का ड्राइविंग टेस्ट देते हुए नहीं देखा है। क्यों? हाँ,
आज से देखेंगे सर। चले?
सुनो, ये आसान नहीं होगा।
सर, आसान होता तो हर कोई किसान होता, है ना?
क्योंकि हमारा ट्रैक्टर हाथों का जज्बा परखता है, उसकी बनावट नहीं। महिंद्रा करता है इस जज्बे को सलाम।
Thanks, Janvi. See, if you take a look at this ad, in a lot of ways, the reason why I edit is two reasons. One is, as I told you, that the cost of production of this ad was extremely low in the sense that as I said, I'm unfortunately not able to tell the value, the price of it, but you'll be extremely surprised at what price we could make this ad. And the second thing is also the use of the catchy phrases in the lines. If you use the phrase, if you listen to the phrase, agar aasan hota to har koi kisan hota, that one has taken Twitter and it's taken the internet by storm. The number of times that this ad has been tweeted, retweeted, it has been circulated among friends. The biggest pride of moment for the company was when a competition senior person tweeted this ad and said, I know this is a competition ad, but I respect the intent of the ad, and I just love the line, which is the "Asan hota to har koi kisan hota." The reason I'm stating this again and again is to say that you don't need to spend a lot of money to make an ad. You just need to have a good local creative person who can make something good for you. It will be made at a low cost. You can air it on media like Facebook, YouTube. You can make it viral on Twitter. You can make it viral on WhatsApp. And then you have a good thing going for your organization. Janvi, the next one for the catchy phrase.
चमके हीरा मोती तेरे आंचल में, तेरे चेहरे की ये लाली लाए मारे मन उजाली, आंगन आंगन है खुशहाली, मारे घर झांझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे, मारे घर झांझर लक्ष्मी के बाजे।
Again, just as an example of how the use of catchphrases that are locally relevant. I'm just trying to combine all of the learnings into one. Help you market your product better in rural. The third aspect of it is the use of local celebrities. Now, celebrities are not that important if you have a damn good product, but the reason why celebrities have become important in the recent times is because one, they add a little bit more credibility to your story. And the second one is they allow to break clutter, especially if you are in a business or an environment where there are multiple competitors. And let's assume that each one of these competitors is airing their ad or is producing something that they go online with or they go digital with. And what this helps you do is just gives you that little bit of an edge where people will pay attention to the celebrity talking. And it gives you that little bit of a boost or a fillip in your product and your communication as compared to others. Now, in the past, we have seen a lot of the large companies use global celebrities or national celebrities to target local. Because you must understand one thing, for India, a celebrity is a celebrity. Now, whether you take the likes of Salman Khan or Sachin Tendulkar or any one of these actors or actresses or Virat Kohli, they are universal. They have a universal appeal. And so large brands can use these celebrities because they have the money power, they have the clout, and they have the ability to pick up these celebrities and use them to run because it helps them target both urban and rural consumers. In the recent past, what has happened, as I told you, is with the advent of hyper-local sports, and especially sports people coming from small towns and rural villages, whether it's the singing competition, which is, I think, what's it called, the one on Sony, where the people come and sing and there are celebrities who win. They come from small towns and rural villages. Whether you take a look at the kabaddi players, even now Olympics, if you take a look at the Olympics that is coming in Japan, a lot of the players and a lot of the participants of the Olympics do not come from urban centers. They come from the small towns and rural villages. It is possible for you to connect with these local celebrities and pick up the local celebrities at a very low cost. I'm not saying that they come cheap, but it's still much, much lower than, let's say, targeting a Virat Kohli. And you can decide, depending on your product category, what kind of celebrity fits that product category, what kind of celebrity will be there. For example, if you want a very muscular kind of a celebrity, I'm sure there'll be local kushti competitions, local akhadas, where at a local level, these guys are very popular. They may not be known outside that particular district or state or zilla, but it works for you in that particular area. And that's the advantage of using local celebrities. A couple of ads featuring local celebrities, featuring celebrities may not be local, but just shows you the power of using a celebrity to break the monotony and the clutter of a regular communication. Janvi?
उमड़ घुमड़ कर जीरा गरजे दिल ये डोले झूम के बोले तारे छूले प्यास बड़ी है आगे बढ़ ले अरे खोल के बंधन तोड़ के ताले ये दिल मांगे मोर ये दिल मांगे मोर आहा
ఇది మా కథ మాత్రమే కాదు, మన దేశంలో కోట్లాది మంది అమ్మాయిల కథ.
మెహక్ రెడీ అయింది. కానీ త్వరగా కానీ. ఏంటిదక్క, చీర కట్టించాలనుకున్నాం కదా, మళ్ళీ లావుగా కనిపిస్తోంది. దాంట్లోనూ లావుగానే కనిపిస్తుంది. త్వరగా తెములు, మగపిల్లి వారు వచ్చేసారు. ఇది కప్పుకోమ్మా, త్వరగా వచ్చే. మెహక్ రామ్మా.
अस्सलामुअलैकुम।
రామ్ మనూర్ రా.
ఫోటోలో రంగు తేటగా ఉండిందే.
బేటా, మీ ఇద్దరు కావలిస్తే బయటికి వెళ్ళి టీ తాగండి. వెళ్ళు నూర్.
నిచ్చెనేసుకుని మాట్లాడాలేమో మీ రాజేశ్వరికి, మా అబ్బాయితో మాట్లాడడానికి.
జోకేం కాదు కానీ నీ జుట్టు స్ట్రైట్ గా చేయించుకో. మా అన్నయ్యకి నూడిల్స్ ఇష్టం లేదు.
ఈ మచ్చ
ఇంకా ఎంతకాలం అందం గురించి ఎత్తిపొడుపు మాటలు. అసలు అందానికి కొలమానం ఏమిటి? డవ్, లోపాలను చూడకండి, గుణాలను చూడండి.
The reason why I showcase this ad is because to add a twist to the earlier story that I told you. I just told you the story that usage of celebrities, usage of popular personalities, and we showed you an ad with Sachin Tendulkar in it, tends to draw attention, tends to break the clutter, tends to break the monotony and get the message across. The second ad that you saw was an ad that was created by Unilever for their product Dow. And the ad was aired in Telugu. And this ad doesn't have any models, any celebrities, or any stars that were taken as the woman. If you have the time, take a look at the ad again. And you'll realize that the women that were used in the ad, none of them were either model celebrities or stars. They were real life housewives. They were real life women. They were just picked up of regular households. And they said, come into our advertisement and act. When you have a powerful story, you don't need the use of celebrities, because just as a perspective, within a month of putting this ad on YouTube, it has garnered 20 lakh views in the first 1 month itself. So 20 lakh people watched this ad. Again, this ad became viral. The other thing that it did is a lot of the people within the families, within the people who came in to act in the ad, they themselves send it out to their friends and relatives and all. And this ad is an example of how you can make celebrities of local people without having to spend money. But again, the concept is about you understanding your product very well, understanding your customer very well, and then working with someone who can build it very creatively. And in this case, making celebrities out of common people. The last point in this is, or the next point in this is the use of bright colors. Now, one of the things that most brands have realized is that if you want to target rural and if you want to get into rural consumers' mind space, you need to have colors which are much brighter than urban. And nothing personifies this more than Asian Paints. So if you look at the Asian Paints color palette that is given out in the metros and mini metros of this country, you'll see a lot of softer shades like pastels and yellow and beiges and all of that. The moment you look at the color shade that goes across to rural, you will have bright oranges, reds, greens, maroons, purples. And if you look at the history of Asian Paints across this country, they're not a very good product. Incidentally, Dulux makes better products than Asian Paints does. But the understanding that Asian Paints has at a hyper-local level about its customers. Do you know that Asian Paints, if you know the geography of Bangalore, do you know that Asian Paints delivers to outlets in Bellandur in Bangalore 2 to 3 times a day? So the dealer doesn't have to keep stock, and they deliver it directly from their factories. And the second thing that they do is that they advertise and they know the demand profile of the customer at a hyper-local level. They know what paint will sell, what color will sell, and how much will sell on a daily basis in Bellandur. They know it, how much it will do in Marthahalli, how much it does in Whitefield. It does that for every single village and town in this country. And that is what is given Asian Paints. Incidentally, it's a case study, and that's the reason why I'm mentioning it. Asian Paints is the only company in the world since the 1950s to have grown at 20% year on year. There's no other company in the world that has grown 20% year on year, I think, in the 1950s or 60s. They've done it before that also, but apparently the company doesn't have the data. And because they don't have the data and the data accumulation started late, it's one of the few companies to have done that. And they have done this by understanding their customer. And I'm using this example to say that if you have a product that goes into rural, try and see if you can make it a little more bright, a little more attractive. If you're using communication, make it more brighter, more attractive than when you're selling to semi-urban or urban areas. Janvi, some of the examples?
बेटा चिंटू, घर तो बड़ा शाइन कर रहा है तेरा।
जायदाद लिख देना ताऊजी पापा के नाम।
भाई साहब, जायदाद मुबारक हो आपको।
एशियन पेंट्स का शाइन वाला पेंट सिर्फ दिखे महंगा।
This one just has one, Harish.
Okay, thanks, Janvi. So you can see in this house that Asian Paints has constructed itself, it's got a bright blue and the line is shine wala. So it almost glitters, it almost shines, so that people can notice it from far away. I'll just touch upon this briefly because if you want to target customers in rural at a local level, there was some media that were used by the large companies in order to locally target customers which are beyond, let's say, television and print and beyond the visual media, beyond the audio visual medium of communication. This is the local view of print and local view of audiovisual communication. I won't spend too much of time on this, just to give you a glimpse of what was happening in the past. And Janvi, you can just run through, just hold a few seconds on each slide and just run through it. And most of you will be aware of this. And as a result of which, I don't think we need to spend too much of time. Yeah, now we can. But just put it on full screen mode.
Just on it. Is it now? Is it translating now?
Yes, it is. Wall paintings, mobile vans, mandis, hats, melas, fairs, participation, folk, storytelling through folk. Now we come to the main aspect of it. What surprised us, actually, I'm telling you this is honestly by saying that what surprised us over the last few years is the extent to which digital has percolated down into rural India. There was always a perception that though a lot of our products go into rural, we were always under the perception that digital is more an urban phenomenon, a semi-urban phenomenon, and it has not yet touched the rural consumer. But when we looked at the statistics of how many internet users are there in rural, how many customers are accessing rural through digital, media through rural, we were pleasantly surprised. And since then, a lot of the communication that we do as an organization, and even a lot of companies that target, Janvi, next slide, companies that target the rural consumers have shifted onto digital as one of the primary forms of communication for rural. Can't see Janvi. And there are a couple of benefits to this. One, you can target customers at a hyper-local level, because digital allows you the ability to, let's say, target one district with one communication, the next district with the next communication. Secondly, when you put your video or your conversation or your advertisement in YouTube or any one of these medium, whether it's TikTok, I think TikTok is the one that popularized video communication across rural. It's unfortunately no longer allowed, but you have an Indian version of it. And the Indian version of it is also gaining popularity today. The second thing that has happened is, while you can do it at a hyper-local level, the customer acceptance of a quality that's been made like a home video is there. You cannot make a home video and put it on television. People will say, what is this? But if you make a home video, if you're genuine, if you're honest, and you come across as being genuine, honest, truthful, down to earth, etc., it really connects with your customers. And you can just, all you need is a nice phone, either an Android or an iPhone, and then you shoot your video yourself, ask someone to hold it, talk about your product with the product in the background, put it on YouTube, and it could go viral. And these are just some statistics which talk to you about the rural customers, which basically tell you the number of people who are active, the number of gram panchayats who are internet enabled, the data consumption that has grown in rural India, and what are the applications in rural India that are big today. The number of people who access YouTube, Facebook, Netflix. This is after, TikTok was at the very top, but after TikTok, these are some of the other applications that have come. And you should realize that people have time. Most of these, especially the farming community in the afternoon, it's too hot. They're at home, they have a phone, they just watch various videos. Even if you see the average time that is spent by a rural consumer on educating himself or herself on products that are essential or products that he or she is interested in, is immense. For example, if you work in a particular profession today, you may spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes watching videos about your profession. But on an average, a farmer in some of the states spends close to anywhere between 45 minutes to 90 minutes a day watching videos in agriculture. And just imagine the captive audience that you have. Imagine if you're the one creating that particular video. So similarly, for your profession, you'll realize that people in rural, who are the buyers of your products, spend a lot more time understanding the product, understanding the technology, understanding what you have to offer. And if you're the one talking to them, the affinity that they will have with your brand or your product will be higher than somebody else's. Next slide, John. The first and the most important thing for you to create is a website. The reason that it's important for you is because, one, that's where they go to. That's the landing page that the customer goes to. It gives your brand a lot of credibility and enhances your visibility. For some reason, people have this perception that if a company or a brand has a website, it means that the company is a large company. And the people who don't have it, I don't know who they are. there's also a level of trust that comes in when you know that somebody has a website. Oh, this company has a website. It's not stated, but people, when you have a website, the trust that the consumer has with you and the ability for the consumer therefore to invest and buy from you becomes higher. The quality of the website also matters. It just builds a confidence in your products, builds a relationship with the customer. The customer knows I have a go-to place. You know, the world has moved to digital today, that even if the physical presence is not there, just because there's a website, the customer feels secure saying, I can go somewhere if something goes wrong. It's not very difficult today. Don't look at it as a high cost, high investment, very complex thing to do. There are various tools available to you where you yourself can sit and make your own website within half a day. I think there are these website creating platforms like Shopify, Wix, etc., which just allow you to, for free, create your company website, and then they give you various options. If you want to have an e-commerce link on the website, you can pay a little bit of money and e-commerce comes in. So there are these add-on applications that you can put to your website. You can pick and choose, and at least the basic website where you can tell the story about your product, you can put a few pictures, you can tell, you know, maybe 3-4 pages of the website where a customer can come to is typically free. As I said, half a day, 1 day if you spend, and if you're a little bit of digitally savvy and a little bit of internet savviness if you have, you can create your company website. Get to Shopify, get to Wix, try some of these options today and see how easy it is to create a website for those who haven't. And for those who have, you'll know what I'm talking about. Next slide, Janvi. Once you have a website, then it is important for you to bring customers onto the website, because that becomes like your, you know, in the earlier days of physical brick and mortar companies and stores, the concept was to bring the consumer to the store to buy, or to bring the customer to the place where you're selling to buy. Right now, that place has become the website. So once you create a website, which is easy for you to create, the next step, and even if you don't want to create yourself, there are a lot of these startup marketing, digital marketing companies that have come up today, where for 10,000 or 20,000 will make a website for you and give it to you. And these are of extremely, you know, good to very good quality. They will manage it for you, they'll maintain it for you, and I don't think it's going to be very expensive. Once you have a website, the next step is for you to try and bring people onto the website. And to bring people onto the website is some of the next few slides, where we'll talk of the YouTube videos and how the videos will help you bring people onto the website. The other thing that the YouTube videos also does is it allows you the ability as a regular MSME company or an organization to try and sell products directly. You speak from the heart, you speak with knowledge, you speak with conviction, you speak with confidence, and people have bought into your promise. Some of the videos I think that we have shown as examples is to just to show you that how normal people, common people can actually create advertisements and put it on, and then they still are able to garner business through their communication. And again, it's free, it's cheap, it's not very expensive for you. You have a phone has a camera, shoot your video, plug it on YouTube, have a link to your website, and your job is done. Janvi?
This one is a slightly longish video. So just let me know, Harish, where you think it's enough, and we can just kind of then move on to the next.
My suggestion is to hold it for around 30-40 seconds and then we can stop, just to give a context of what a local video is like.
नमस्कार दोस्तों, ऊषा विलेज फूड चैनल में आप सभी का स्वागत है। दोस्तों, आज एक नई रेसिपी आप लोग को बताएंगे। चलिए आप लोग को ऐसा खेत दिखाते हैं कि बहुत ही अच्छा आप लोगों को लगेगा। चलिए हम पहुंच चुके हैं। आज बारिश हुई थी और सब हर जगह भीगा भीगा सब नज़र आ रहा है। दोस्तों, ये हमने आज आया है मैंने टमाटर के खेत में, और देखिए आप बहुत ही अच्छा टमाटर का खेत, एकदम घूपेदार टमाटर फरा हुआ है।
Yeah, so if you see the quality of the ad, if you see the quality of this communication, you'll say, what is this? But trust me when I tell you, this lady has a lot of people who follow her. There are a lot of people who come onto a site and then, who take a look at her and what she does and what she talks about and all of that. So as long as you are able to make communication that is relevant, and people are hungry for knowledge and rural. And the moment you can do something like this, it clicks. The second thing is Facebook ads. Now, these may cost a little bit of money, but what you can also do for free is to create a Facebook page for yourself. And just some examples of how companies have done it. Janvi, the next one. Yeah, this is just a car of house created a Facebook page. Again, you can advertise the Facebook page. You can, it again becomes like a landing page, and within the Facebook page, you can create a link saying, here is my website. If you want more information, come here. So this is just an example of how you can do the next round of digital marketing. The third aspect of digital marketing that is important is the role of influencers. And influencers are people who listen to them. And this is a very big deal in digital marketing. So if you know someone who has a bit of a following, and again, going back to the thing of local celebrities, the concept is now local influencers. Local influencers are people who, because of what they communicate and how they communicate, and their only job is their profession now. Their profession is to talk about stuff. So there are influencers who talk about cars. There are influencers who talk about tractors. There are influencers who talk about heavy machinery. Every aspect of life. There are influencers who talk even about what shirt and pant to wear and how to look good wearing a shirt and pant. I mean, you'll be surprised at the number of people who follow people who even tell you how to apply lipstick correctly every day. And they've just created a profession out of it, and they earn money through it. It's important for you to understand within your industry who could potentially be the local influencer, and whether the local influencer is the sarpanch, is it an entrepreneur, is it the youth, is it a self-help group, is it a progressive farmer, is it someone within your profession itself. Try and connect with this particular influencer and try and see if the influencer can help you talk about your particular product. And if you belong to the same local area and the influencer belongs to the same local area, you can just be friends with the person and say, this is what I have. Can you? And influencers, you must understand that the business of the influencer depends on people like you coming to him and showcasing, allowing the opportunity to showcase product. Let me give you an example. For example, if there's a local influencer who does car videos, it is important for the car company to connect with the local influencer so that their cars sell in the local context. But it is also important for the local influencer, because if no car companies give their car to them, the local influencer has no job. So both ways it works. So if you can understand who the local influencers are, the local influencers are equally hungry to get companies to showcase their products via the local influencers, because that's how they build their customer base and that's how they earn their money. So just possibly, Janvi, 30 seconds of the one communication of a local influencer on advertising.
Link between the tractor and the car, I think I'll go with
just do the tractor, because the tractor has a story to it. Very quickly, just around 10-15 seconds.
आज हम आपके लिए एक ऐसी धमाकेदार वीडियो लेके आए हैं। इस वीडियो को आप खुद ही शेयर करें, क्योंकि आज हम आपको बताएंगे किसान का पुत्र यानी कि ट्रैक्टर कैसे बनता है। आज हम पहुंचे हैं महिंद्रा के प्लांट में, और इस प्लांट की खास बात यह है कि महिंद्रा दावा करता है कि वो 2 मिनट में एक ट्रैक्टर को तैयार कर देता है ना हैरानी की बात। तो आज आपको इसकी पूरी डिटेल में पूरी जानकारी देंगे, तो आप हमारे साथ बने रहें। जो दोस्त अब तक हमारे चैनल को नहीं सब्सक्राइब किया,
that's sufficient, Jani. This is basically to tell a story that this guy was a local influencer. We actually called him into the Mahindra factory and
नहीं घंटी दबाई है तो प्लीज दबा लें, क्योंकि हम किसानों की
I'm sorry for this.
Yeah, we asked him to make a video of the Mahindra factory and talk about the Mahindra factory. And actually this person in his local area garnered 53 lakh views. All he did is just took a walk around the factory and then he put it on his YouTube channel. And there were 53 lakh people who saw this, and there was a significant boost in sales in that local region as a result of this particular video. So that's the power of the local influencer that you can utilize. In summary, what I would like to say is the following. I mean, just to go through the entire presentation. One is the main thing: tweak whatever marketing you do, tweak whatever activities you do to suit your local conditions, the customs, language, create phrases, create catchphrases, create jingles that appeal to the customer. Try and see if you can use local celebrities and try and make your ad as colorful as possible. In the past, mandis, huts and fairs were good platforms, but I think going forward, digital marketing and digital presence is the key to tapping the rural customer. And these are important because digital marketing is not as expensive. Digital marketing allows you the ability to target the customer without too much of issues. It's literally free. If you don't want high quality videos and if you don't want the high quality stuff coming in, and when I say high quality, I mean very high, you will still get high quality stuff. It's literally free. And if you have the ability to collaborate with such hyper local social media influencers who are also looking for companies to collaborate with them, who can, the two of you can really work together to boost both your product and your go-to-market. That's it from me. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure, as I said, and I guess we can move to the next stage, handing over to Joydeep. Joydeep was saying that you have a few questions or you want to discuss.
Yeah. Sure. I was just trying to listen to Joydeep. So Harish, as Mr. Prakash, who is a joint director of MSME of Thrissur district, his comment is excellent presentation. I really want to resonate that. I want to tell you that, yes, definitely an excellent presentation. And that is something, your way to also others to kind of understand how in a beautiful way you have kind of completed the circle of 360 degrees through a nice videos, through messages, and targeting, saying that how you could actually focus on rural presentation. So really, Harish, thank you to, I also resonate that. I really liked it. And to the attendees, feel free to ask questions. As the questions are coming, I have a few questions. Harish, I understand, I completely agree to you. Rural India is where the market is. And my first question is, I think a question cannot go without mentioning COVID, without mentioning the.
I hope it's not like an examination, because I tend to get nervous.
No. It's a conversation, Harish. I mean, I really enjoyed your rural marketing, and especially coming from Mahindra, and with the background that you bring. So I know before we start to get questions, my first question is, I think there's no conversation that today that can go without mentioning, as I mentioned, COVID or pandemic. So how has the pandemic or the COVID impacted the rural India marketing?
Marketing or market?
Market. To be
okay. Let me talk a little of both. Okay. I talk a little bit from our perspective at Mahindra, because I think it gives a context, more clearly. So from a marketing perspective, and that's the first part, a lot of our marketing spends, because we are a large traditional company, and we used to follow a lot of the traditional forms of marketing until just before COVID struck. And the belief that I told you that during the conversation itself, the belief that digital has percolated down, and the belief that a lot of rural consumers are on digital and not on the traditional forms of media was low. And therefore, even though we knew that they're on digital, I think our spends were still predominantly on the traditional forms of media versus digital. COVID allowed us to, I think, hasten the process of digitization. And a lot of what we are doing today has moved onto digital, and rightly so. And that's what has given us the learning, saying that, hey, we may have missed something, because this seems to be getting us better results than spending all that money in the traditional media. And my perception is that even when if and when we come out of COVID, and I don't know when that is, but whenever we come out of COVID, I think the split between traditional versus digital will skew significantly towards digital, even in the post-COVID era. It may not stop the physical forms of connect, whether it's the hearts or the mandis and the participation in the melas and all that may not stop. But I think this thing about airing this, large communication on television or on Doordarshan and on radio and expecting people to connect, that monies may shift to rural in a large way. I mean, to digital in a large way. From an economy perspective, I think between urban and rural, luckily, touch wood for us as a country itself, I don't think the first wave of COVID hit rural as much as it hit urban centers. The rural populations were a lot more careful. They were a lot more protective about themselves. In fact, I remember during the early stages in April, May, June, they would refuse to allow salespeople to come into the village. The village literally clamped down. A lot of villages in the country clamped down, and even people from the village, if they would go out to the city for some work, they had this very well laid out protocol of that person coming and staying in a place outside of the village for 7 to 14 days and then coming into the village. A lot of the precautions that they took, I mean, they would not wear masks and follow social distancing, but the fact that they distanced themselves from each other and the rest of the world, I think really helped everyone. And the rural economy, what has happened is, it's a very cash-based economy. You get the money, you spend the money. And typically, when you get the money and you spend the money, there are two things that you spend money on: useful stuff and wastage. And by wastage, I mean the ability or the propensity to spend on stuff like, local celebrations like Holi or Diwali or Eid or anything is much higher than urban. You and I may not spend that much money, but they tend to splurge on these festivals. They tend to splurge on marriages. They tend to splurge on local events that are happening. A lot of that got curtailed. And when that got curtailed, a lot of the spends then went into things that are essentials. So whether it's the sale of tractors or the sale of bikes or the sale of cars or the sale of white goods in rural, if you see, it's significantly higher than the pre-COVID times. So that's how the market has changed. Now, we don't expect this to continue for long, because once the other avenues of expenditure come back, when the Hats come back, the Melas come back, the festival celebrations come back, you will see some of the spends going there and spends on essentials coming down. But today, a lot of the spend in rural economy is going towards essentials.
Harish, one thing I noticed, and which I agree, but I also noticed was a lot of ads that you showed. Yes, completely agree to you. How to use the digital medium and how to target the rural audience. Obviously, it has to be different. But many of those ads, I can, if for lack of better word, I would rather, to make it, to simplify it, I would put it FMCG. Yes. Okay, let's say I'll put it in FMCG. So I agree to you. Yeah, we need to use the digital medium. We need to use the digital transformation to reach the market. Do you see the usage of the same digital medium into the same target market, which is the rural, different as compared to an FMCG? Because Mahindra equipment is not FMCG, it's different. It's a different product. So do you see there has to be, even from a product standpoint, the marketing strategies have to be slightly different, though the medium and the target segment could be the same? I hope I'm clear here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the simple answer to that question is yes. And the reason I say yes is because, see, if you have an FMCG, let's take an example of a biscuit. The thing in a biscuit is to generate excitement and create a top of mind awareness so people will buy into that biscuit. So the moment I say new improved Tiger, now with 30% additional calcium, people will run, and you create a nice commercial, people will run to it and buy.
Correct.
You need to do the same thing for your product when you're non-FMCG, but you need to go deeper. Because what happens is, suppose I say now tractor with more power, a damdar tractor. The next question they'll ask is, kaisa damdar? Kyun damdar? What do you mean by damdar? How much more horsepower it is? How will it help me plow my field? Will it lift? Will it not do? How much extra mileage it will consume, and etc. So in order for us to explain about products that are non-FMCG, it is important for us to do what is called as videos, longish education videos. Either you can do it yourself, as I said, it's now you have a camera, you have the medium, you explain to them, this is what I mean by it, this is how we can use it, this is how you run it, this is where it can be used, this is how it's better than. So it's more like a infomercial rather than a commercial. Or you can use, as I said, take the use of local influencers. Because the local influencers, there are a lot of local influencers around us, at least for tractors and cars and all of these. I'm sure each one of the MSME industries, if you take a look, there will be local influencers who are now cropping up. You identify the local influencers, they are looking for content, you're looking for someone to market your product. If the two of you get together, I think it's a good jugalbandi that you can have. But you need to have a longer detailed explanation of products, use cases, what are the benefits, what are the pros and cons, what are the SWOT. If something goes wrong, where are you accessible? What's your dealership network like? What's your service network like? Where spare parts can be available? How to use the product? All of these can be made into separate, videos or combined videos. But the medium stays the same, because YouTube allows you to put a 30-second ad. It allows you to put a 1-hour video.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wonderful. So I have a similar question from the audience here. Does Mahindra and Mahindra use different marketing strategies for the villages of India and villages for outside of India? If yes, why and how? From Bhavesh Chippa. Very interesting question.
See, the answer is a yes and a no. Again, the answer is a yes and a no, because the kind of media that we were using in India was very different from the kind of media that you use outside of India. So we were on digital much more outside of India than we were in India. Secondly, the reason why there's a difference is because our penetration and scale in India is significantly larger than countries outside. We do have presence in many other countries outside of India, for example, the US, Turkey, Japan, etc. But our presence in this country, where we are distinct market leaders, our share in this country, we almost have half of the country in terms of tractors, in terms of share. But we are not as large in share. And therefore, our penetration into villages, our presence through our dealership is very different. So the kind of media that you use is more mass. And you can spend more money. It's a combination of mass. It's a combination of hyper local, because you're present in every village. You're also present in every customer segment. So the customer segment of tractor, whether you're a horticulture farmer and therefore require smaller HP tractors, to large, corporate farms or large aggregate farms which require higher HP tractors, we are present everywhere. It may not be the case in some of the other countries. And our focus is also a lot in India today as compared to outside. So a lot of these then decide what kind of media that you use. But the positioning that we have for our tractors is more or less similar. We may tweak the representation of that positioning, but when we say that Mahindra tractor is tough Hardam in India, that tough Hardam gets almost translated into the similar kind of positioning, whether you're in the US or you're in Brazil, etc.
I agree. Thank you. So before I move on to the next set of questions, I have at least two more in the chat. I agree to Suchitra for I request all of the participants to kindly fill the feedback form. The URL is mentioned there in the chat box. Kindly use that to fill as you are listening to the questions and the answers. And next, I move on to a question from Mr. Sriram. Here we discuss about the product-based examples. Yes. What is a strategy which we can take for a service sector like banking sector in the rural areas?
It's a very good question. And at least from a marketing perspective, I think the strategy is the same. I mean, because we just talked of how to communicate, what to communicate, and where to communicate. I think those remain more or less the same. And incidentally, Mahindra does have a service in this country called Krishi. Okay, and Krishi is basically a service where we provide farm advisory services, we provide new age technology services. So we actually handhold the farmer, because the farmer is very traditional in the way that they've been growing crops, and therefore to a large extent the productivity per acre in this country is among the lowest in the world. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to get them to adopt new ways of farming through advisory services, new technologies, for example drones and limited spraying applications of fertilizers, etc. And that is an advisory service that we follow. I mean, it's advisory is just part of it, but that's a service that we provide the farmer under the umbrella of Krishi. The communication to the farmer stays the same, the medium. The only difference that comes in is that because there is no physical product for the farmer to touch and feel or look or experience, the ability to trust is slightly lower. And hence, what you need to try and do is you need to definitely boost up the trust aspect of your communication, the credibility aspect of the communication if you're doing a service. Because the first question that comes from the mind is, why should I believe? Or why should I trust you? See, it's easier for a brand like Mahindra because there is years and years of trust built in rural behind the brand Mahindra. But if you're an organization that is, you did mention bank. I don't think banks have a trust deficit in this country, especially nationalized banks. They don't have a trust deficit. But if you're, let's say, a non-banking financial corporation or a new internet digital-based money lending kind of thing that's come in, you need to spend a lot more thought and effort into thinking, how do I build credibility and trust with the farmer? Because that's one aspect where they will tend to suspect if you're a service versus a product.
Next, I have a very interesting question from Siddharth Kumar. What are strategies of M&M, Mahindra and Mahindra, in countries where they don't have proper mass media?
Siddharth, are you from competition and wanting to know what I'm planning to do in other markets? See, in the countries outside of India, I'm not too sure which countries you're referring to that don't have mass media, but I don't think we are present in any of the countries that don't have mass media. Having said that, I think our communication strategy and our go-to-market strategy in a lot of markets outside of India is less based on mass and more based on local. So we do a lot of local-based communication through our dealers and dealer networks in that area surrounding the dealer, rather than do an all-out communication. Because as I mentioned, the width and depth of our penetration in markets outside of India is not as wide as India is. And the segments that we play in are very, very, very specific. And it doesn't make sense in those countries then to go mass media as compared to, let's say, for example, in India.
That's all I have on the chat, but I have one or two questions. Maybe if we have, I think we have maybe 5 minutes, so I'll use that time. I saw one of your excellent slide points where influencers, I completely agree to you. And I also noticed SHG, self-help group, as a very key influencer, especially when rural marketing, when you talk about rural marketing. And is it with a product from Mahindra like a tractor, is that happening? I mean, is the influencer penetration through SHGs happening like in any NBFE, like banking related? I'm trying to compare here with a banking product and saying, because NBFCs are using that as a huge channel influencing aspect or a group to penetrate their products. Is Mahindra doing it for farm products is my question.
See, if you were to take a surrogate of a self-help group, I will say, for example, in FMCG, and when I worked in FMCG, and even for financial companies, you used to have these I think Grameen started this concept of aggregating a certain group of people and then giving a collective loan where every person in that group is now responsible for paying back the loan, even if it's to one person. I don't think we do that as such, but from a surrogate perspective, what happens is there are these aggregations of farmers, whether it is the KVKs, which is the Kisan Kendras, where there are a group of people who come together and then they start doing something. So a lot of services, for example, let me give you an example of Tringo, which is a rental service. When we need to do a rental service, it is predominantly, it's been more successful being done as a group of people coming together to try and see if they can rent it out versus one individual. If you were to rent out to an individual, it ends up becoming a business. What happens is a larger farmer buys a tractor. Part of the tractor is used for, let's say, plowing their field, if they have a couple of acres, and the spare time they go and plow somebody else's field. But if you want to do it, if Mahindra wants to give out tractors as a rental opportunity, or even as this Krishi concept that I told you, this Krishi concept of giving advisory to farmers, that works better when we have a group of farmers like that's why I said it's not exactly a self-help group, but when we aggregate a group of farmers who think and do alike, we do the experiment in one person's farm, and then the other farmers around that particular group then adopt the same technology. That is the closest that we have come to a self-help group. We also see, I think, the government now coming up with the concept of having this aggregation of farmers. So they are also promoting people to come together and saying that you form a cluster, you form a community. And that's the shift that you see. They've set a target of, I think, 10,000 by the end of whatever time period. But even they are promoting this concept of farmers coming together and creating a consortium or creating a forum. And then there's a common knowledge, there's a common learning, there's a common cropping pattern, there's a common, they're possibly going forward, there'll be a combined buying, and therefore economies of scale will come in, possibly putting pressure on companies like us.
Yeah, one question from the chat, probably because keeping time sense in mind, I will take that as the last question. Is interesting. Sorry for being facetious. Is farmers' strike affecting M&M's tractor business in northern states, or is business going on as was in the past? Sorry, it's kind of maybe.
This is more like a media question rather than a marketing
Exactly.
question.
That's why I even before started, I was like, oh my God, make me laugh. Sorry.
Yeah, so all I can comment is, I think post-COVID, and the reports are published and in the media. I think post-COVID, I think Mahindra as an organization in the farm sector, we've been doing well. And we expect to end the year, I think, doing better than what we did last year.
Harish, I know we are, it's at 2 minutes to 12:30. There is one last question, if you're okay to take it.
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. What's your take on the growing AG tech sector, agricultural tech sector?
What's my take on the?
Growing agricultural tech sector, technology sector. Agricultural tech sector.
You mean the agriculture technology companies and startups that are coming up?
That's what I take from this question.
I think even I take that. I presume that's the question.
Yeah. Mr. Suresh, it's a question from Suresh, who's a faculty in Amrutapuri campus. He says yes. That's what he means.
See, I think it's good. I mean, in one sentence, one word, if I were to answer it, I think it's good. We are at a very nascent stage, or a very underdeveloped, the basic stage of development in this country when it comes to agriculture. And the more the people that come into this arena, and the more the people that help improve farm productivity, improve the livelihoods of farmers, improve the income per acre, and therefore help the government achieve its objective of doubling farmers' income, I think the overall upliftment of the rural economy and the upliftment of the country will happen, because there's a large percentage of our population that lies there, and it cannot be just one or two large companies that do it. The fact that tech companies or technology-oriented people are interested, the fact that people passing out today from colleges like the IITs and the IIMs want to do something to rural is very exciting for me personally, and even for companies like us, because it was always considered a boring sector. The fact that people are now coming in and bringing in excitement, bringing in investment, bringing in new technology, I think is only going to be good for everyone within the sector and for the country as a whole. That said, one of the key things that these tech companies need to figure out if they want to succeed is scalability. And at least what my personal experience today shows, there are pockets where people are doing stuff, but when it comes to then spreading it across a wider geography, that's where I have not seen too many successful examples, at least in the agtech space. And if anything, at least from our perspective, Krishi, as I said, Krishi is our key focus of entering into that agtech space, and we have a lot of work going on in Krishi. We are making a lot of investments in it. I think it's our biggest aha and biggest wow that's going to come from us in the agricultural space is possibly going to come from there. And we are putting in monies, and we are going to bring that scale into it. And we are looking for people who we can partner with also. So if there are opportunities for us to partner with people, there are opportunities for us to go to market with people, happy to have conversations with them.
Thanks, Harish. I know there's another last question. I'll make sure that that's the last one. So can we expect an EV, the electric tractor from Mahindra or Swaraj? It's a very interesting question. So I'll
I mean, see, it's the next technology that's coming in. I mean, there are companies in India that have already launched the electric tractors. There is work on progress even internally in Mahindra, but it's the thought of, it's not about just launching. If you want to launch for the sake of launching, we could have done it many years back. We're still trying to work out the commercial feasibility and practicality of having an electric tractor. And when the time is right, who knows?
Absolutely. Thank you, Harish. I know there are a few more questions, but I've taken over time. And for those questions, we will direct them to you directly, to you and Janvi, and I'm sure we'll get those responses and back to those participants. And I really enjoyed conversing with you. I will reach out to you. I have a few more questions, but I'll reach out direct to you and talk to you. I'm sure the audience must have been thrilled. I can see there are at least 60 plus of them still there and listening to words of wisdom coming from you today. So I thank Joydeep for the opportunity to have this discussion and conversation with you. And Joydeep, over to you. Thanks, Harish. Joydeep, I can't hear you.
I'll just step off and hand over my laptop to Jaideep because I don't think he can. But before he comes in, I think I'd like to thank all of you for the opportunity once again. It's been an honor to be here. Thanks, Jaideep, for pushing me into doing this, but I think I really enjoyed it. I just reached back home at 1 a.m. last night, so I was not sure I'd be able to make it here in the morning, but I'm actually happy and glad that I did. Thanks, thank you all.
It was superb. It was superb. And
wonderful presentation. I think one takeaway is अगर आसान होता तो कोई आसान होता.
So we have become Kisans. You have made it simple for us. But what is very important is to take a nuanced attitude towards rural marketing. And it's not so easy. So thank you very much for this time, taking time out from your busy schedule. And it has been a wonderful presentation, as echoed by Prakash ji, who is the head and the director of MSME of Kerala, and many others, and Shekhar Babu and Dr. Krishnasri. I'm sure everyone loved the presentation, the color, jingles, the stories, the videos. It was just awesome. So thank you very much. And with Amma's grace and blessings, you just had just under her. So with her blessings, it went off very well. So thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you.